Despite some dramatic gains in housing supply, the growing demand is putting enormous pressure on rents, and that goes for neighborhoods that recently were considered gateways to opportunity for immigrants, especially East Boston. The housing crunch in that neighborhood will be addressed tomorrow night in a community forum at the East Boston Social Center near Central Square. Our guests are from two of the organizing groups, the executive director of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights and Economic Justice, Iván Espinoza-Madrigal, and the executive director of the East Boston Ecumenical Community Council, or EBEC, Frank Ramirez. Thank you both very much for being with us.
Thank you.
I want to start with Frank Ramirez. Talk about what you've seen in the neighborhood, what people are telling you about, especially the cost of housing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as you may know, EBEC support close to 5,000 immigrant peoples, in East Boston, but most of them are from East Boston. And 90% of the population we serve are low-income people, okay? So right now, there are some development projects, at the waterfront of East Boston, and those areas are surrounded by the low-income people. Probably 60% of this community is low-income, and so they are absolutely very concerned, very scared. Right now, as we speak, some people are moving out of East Boston because the rent has been increased, and some are going to Revere, some are going to other Chelsea, to some other communities, because they just cannot afford the rent increase.
Any idea about how much some of these apartments are renting for, or at least the owners are trying to get for them?
Yeah, sure. Actually, the increase is happening at a rate of at least 30% a year. That means that in 4 years, actually, the increase of those rent will go around the $3,000 a month margin. So it is happening very rapidly, actually.
Turn to Iván Espinoza-Madrigal. The rent goes way up. If you can't afford to buy something, I guess it's the market. What else can you do?
Well, it certainly is. It's a market trend, but at the same time, we have to make sure that tenants who are already in place are not getting improperly displaced. Some of these tenants have leases, and landlords eager to turn an apartment around and get a new tenant into the apartment sometimes infringes on existing tenants' rights to occupy that space, interferes with existing leases. So we have to have a critical eye on how landlords are acting with respect to existing tenants, and also make sure that the community's perspective and voice is brought to the attention of housing authorities, so that as new constructions are going up, there is an adequate amount of space in those constructions reserved for low-income individuals.
Right. Frank, it sounds to me as if anybody is an East Boston resident, they're worried about their rent going up, but they don't know what to do. I guess they should go to this forum.
Absolutely. That's correct. The fact of the matter is that it is a constituency also being developed, in East Boston. More people are politically aware, of their rights. And I think that because of that also, they know how to hold accountable, our government officials, to make sure that they are not adversely impacted, in this kind of situation. So actually, we put together the forum. We organized the forum because of some members of the community were coming to us to say, we are concerned about what's going on. And because of that, I think that there is an acute sensitivity by part of the community, particularly immigrant community, that those increases in rent will displace them, and they're going to have to leave East Boston and go to other communities that are more affordable. But it's not affecting just regular residents, but also small businesses. Small businesses are also very concerned with the issues of gentrification and all of that, because the same community that live in the neighborhood are also the one who go to those restaurants, to the little shopping center and all of that. So the small business community is also being affected by this, and they are also very concerned about it.
Okay. Iván, I know if you got to move out of Eastie, and you probably might go someplace that's not as good, schools aren't as good maybe, that's a problem for the residents being displaced. But what about the rest of the city? I mean, is this a problem for anybody else?
We are seeing these dynamics happening in many gentrifying neighborhoods across the city. Not just in East Boston, but also in Jamaica Plain, for example.
In Nicholson Square, especially.
Yes, in areas where there has been a large influx of new development, of new residents. And of course, neither of our organizations is against growth and against development. What we want to make sure is that the people in the communities, that their rights are being protected, that their voices are being heard as the process goes on. We all believe in the strength of diversified communities in every sense, racially, ethnically, and economically. I think that makes for a very healthy community. But we have to make sure that development also happens with the perspective of local residents already in place, heard, and that's not just in Eastie, but also in other parts of the city like Jamaica Plain.
Frank, I know when you're talking about East Boston residents, a lot of the people who are really threatened by these rent increases, some of them, I think, work at Logan Airport, I imagine. So if they're commuting from outside the city, first thing they're going to do is maybe buy a car.
Right, yeah.
And they need a driver's license.
Exactly. So, but also, a lot of, by virtue also being low-income residents, they depend a lot in public transportation, and all of that. And to some extent also in the arrangement that I had made with employers, case in point, as you said, the airport, about how to get to work there. So a displacement will completely destroy, that kind of arrangement, that helping to provide a livelihood for their family, And so a lot of them also, are single parents, and they depend, in their income, but also, in they care for their kids, and moving out of that area also will disrupt that arrangement that they have for taking care of their children. It's very serious.
Iván, we should tell our viewers a little bit more about the meeting, especially exactly what time and place this is get to start.
Yes, we are going to be holding the meeting tomorrow in East Boston at 6 p.m. So we invite local residents, small business owners, and also landlords to come out and share their perspective. We have a number of elected officials who will be present to take questions and also share their perspectives on this type of growth and development in East Boston. So we intend for it to be a very friendly and open forum for people to be able to come in and express what are some of the needs that they have experienced as residents in Eastie.
Right, thank you both very much, Iván Espinoza-Madrigal and Frank Ramirez. Still to come, a musical benefit for Boston's homeless.